Also, random trivia bit, this is the first game released stateside that notated that character as Princess Peach. Just a cool little thing I like about it. And make sure our settings are all good to go. I'm going to do the countdown time once I click on one player mode, so we'll go ahead and get started. So the first set of stages, we basically get to play Mega Man style. We had to play 7 stages all in a row. Treat them like the Robot Master stages. We start with stage 3, or at least I always start with stage 3 because it has the most random boss, so it's the most optimal to start with for reset purposes. Okay. So, as you can tell, this is a pretty menial little auto-scroller. Just move along, hit everything in your path, make some jumps. Jumps are actually crucial because they're where you can lose most of your time. Ooh, I actually got that jump. Nice. That jump's tough. Paragoombas are, to me, some of the tougher enemies in the game. They have really unusual flight patterns, so they can really knock you off course. Unfortunately, I got hit by that little turnip there. Take out these guys. Come to our first mid-boss, which is this Boomerang Brother. Not that hard, but depending on his running formation and whether we can maintain hits on him, we can actually lose a cycle. You also may notice we picked up our first key item of the game in that Fire Flower that actually expands our power meter. As we fire, you see the power meter drains. Once it gets down low, then we can't use Turbo anymore. Turbo is actually a feature of the Super Scope, so it's featured for this game. Under our first boss, we have Wendy. I really want to make sure I land this first hit. Got it. Okay, cool. Wendy takes 3 hits, and she's incredibly random. The timing of all of her attacks and all the spawns are the same. Where she appears is not predetermined, but that was actually really good RNG to get her in that second pipe in that second cycle. Plus getting the first hit, too. Second pipe here? No, that's mean. We're going to just deflect all our shots, not a big deal. This is fairly common here for the third hit, and that'll finish off our first boss. As I mentioned at the start, I actually am playing this on emulator, so it's being used with a mouse. Also, this is the only Koopa kid in the entire game that doesn't have some cool mech that it gets to ride in. Like, all the male Koopa kids get to ride around these, like, cool Gundam-style mechs, and it's really neat. Move on from here. On to stage 4. This is another stage where you can lose a lot of time if you're not careful, particularly because of the body of water on the left side. Essentially, to this point, you just have to make sure you don't get hit. Also, shout out to the music in this game. The music in this game is great. Love it so much. These plants can cause problems. We're going to gun them all down. We're going to have some Paragoombas come in here from the sides. Make sure I hit them. And, of course, I got hit. You don't want to get hit. Getting hit is bad. Losing coins isn't that huge of a deal. Losing time is a real problem. Troopas aren't that huge of a deal. You can always see them incoming. When they're not coming at you super fast, that is. I'm trying to think of what else I can mention. We're gonna get a star here, which is pretty great. Didn't mean to get hit, though. Here we don't have to do anything. We just keep moving, and everything's gonna walk into us. Get some hype star music, though. Start gunning them down before we move underwater. Here we have one of my favorite music tracks in the game. The song's a jam. Y'all can't see, but I'm definitely bobbing my head right now. Cheap Cheeps are pretty annoying in this game. Not as much in this level, but we'll definitely see them later, and they're going to get much, much worse. They're much more dangerous when they're out of water, which is not the norm for a Mario title. Bloopers can be a bit annoying here, especially because they can, like, crawl along the seafloor. Yep. Missed all that. Figured they were going to bypass me. Sometimes enemies just walk around you. And that can be the hardest thing to determine when running this game, because you have to be kind of alert when they're coming around to you. And know which ones are going to move past you so you don't have to interact with them. On the mini-boss for this stage, I still don't know what the heck this thing is. It's dispensing octopuses, clearly, but I don't understand the point of it in Mario lore, or what the heck it's even doing here. Unfortunately, I got that last hit. Other mechanic you'll see in some stages are these gates that we had to turn on the other side. Most of the gates we shoot them because they save us time. They don't save us a huge amount of time with the exception of one. The one in stage 9 saves like 20 seconds as long as you remember to hit it. So that one's obviously important. Our next boss, here we have this thing. I'll keep the Koopa Kid a surprise though, so we keep this game. Pretty easy boss, just gotta center on the target on the nose. And here we have Larry. Spoilers, shoot him in the window. I believe it's possible to cycle this boss, but I haven't been able to do it yet. But 2.5 is pretty standard, so yeah, that was good. 2 1/3 or so. Definitely not a bad fight. I'm proud they made this game. I love this game. It's like super duper out there, but as far as like, hey, we're doing crazy stuff, I can think of worse. Share our screen, move on to the next stage. This is actually my least favorite stage of the first 7. Full stage 6. Very pretty to look at though. The mode 7 water effects are awesome. So here's where the Cheep Cheeps are going to start getting really obnoxious. When they leap out of water like that, it gets pretty bad. This stage, it's not that considerable. The bombs can be a big problem. Even if you dodge them, they can explode and you can still take a hit. I generally tend to try to get them out of the way. Shells are pretty come see, come saw. Sometimes if they space out well enough, I tend to jump over them instead of shoot them because it causes less lag. That's one thing I should actually bring up. If you're firing a lot of shots and hitting a lot of enemies, you generally want to tone down that a little bit because that can cause lag. I'll show some examples here. The screen lags a little bit when you're getting all those hits. Here we have our first big jump. You always want to make sure you hit these jumps. You're going to lose a lot of time if you don't. Oh god, why? Another gate we're going to shoot. Not expect that to happen. There we go. So the thing about Paragoombas is they pretty much always have the same flight patterns, but where they bombard in is random. That can make them very, very difficult to hit. Move on to our boss, and this is the reason I don't enjoy this stage. This boss is pretty awful. We have this giant metal squid. For the first phase, we have to shoot the arms, and the hardest thing about it is the weak point. That little blue ringlet that connects the arms to the rest of the body, that's the weak spot. It's really easy to miss. A pretty good first arm there. I'm going to let my meter refill here. And there I just missed a ton of shots just because I was moving around so much. A lot harder to hit than it looks. Once we get past the arms, we're fine. Getting past the arms is the rough part. Yeah, we're losing a ton of time there. There we go. Now it's going to do some jumping. Go for the legs instead. I believe these are all in synced intervals. Like, there's not a lot of RNG to this phase of the fight. Just gotta make sure your gun's in the right place when it pops out. Okay. Last legs. Big ol' explosion. And here we have Iggy. Surrendering. I also love all the white flags. It makes things so absurd and really silly. Okay, sorry about that. Had to make some audio adjustments. Just the shot there. Now, canonically, this is the first stage we're supposed to do, because it definitely is the easiest stage, but it's a fairly decent one to put in the middle. There's not really anything difficult about it. Another gate we're going to shoot. There's some very serene music, too. Dun, 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 dun. Sounds very island-like, though. Not a key item. We won't see another one of those until stage 5. Under our mid-boss, we got a Hammer Brother here. Definitely not that difficult. I wish he wasn't jumping so much, though. Another thing to keep in mind in this game, it generally doesn't matter if you get hit. Getting hit doesn't really alter much, at least not on the standard difficulty. You can just fire away. Here we have Lemmy and this giant Lemmy bot, which looks great. Pull my meter a tad bit. Generally when he jumps, I don't even bother shooting anymore. I got him the last hit while he was jumping. So this part's cool. You have Lemmy himself, who in phase 2, who you can hit in the face. About a 2-pixel window right above where the cockpit is of the machine. That's unfortunate. I hate it when he scrolls the screen. It really throws the camera off. Yeah, you can get in a pretty decent number of hits there in that window. There we go. The stage order is what I'm used to if I'm doing runs of this game. The reason they go in the order they do is just because it's reset points. Like, stage 3 has the most reset points, which is why I always start with it. It has the most random boss by a lot. Like, a whole lot. So that's why I always start with that stage. On to stage 7 in the sky. Pretty cool looking stage, I think. You can also jump these spinies. I prefer to shoot them until the zip comes into play. Yeah, this game is certainly very easy, but it's also just really fun to run. It's a super chill game. You get to look at lots of cool Mode 7 stuff. A new enemy here in the bullet bills. As long as you hit them before they launch, you're fine. Let them launch, though, and they can be a real issue, because they are pretty fast. Koopa is another enemy. These guys aren't that big of a deal. Hop along in some really unusual patterns, but they're very slow. So they tend to be not that much of a threat. More big jumps, because of course we're in the sky. No problem. I will say that the order on some of them I don't quite understand. Like, I don't really know why 1 is in the middle. It's the easiest stage of the first 7. And the boss isn't that random. I guess the reason we say the 1 for last is so we can have all the meter for the boss of that stage. I'll get into the reasons of that when we get there. Saw that yesterday. So this is one of my favorite bosses in the game for a couple of reasons. 1, it's technically a fairly difficult boss, and 2, I love the vantage point of it. Like, the aesthetic of it, of Yoshi just falling in free fall while fighting this balloon is pretty cool to look at, I think. I hate this. When he flies away like that, he's not invincible, but he can get rid of his hurt box for a little bit, so you want to make sure that doesn't happen if at all possible. It's unfortunate. Go for the bullseye. Okay. So, this is going to end up being Roy, and he can give us 3 different spawn points. If he spawns on the right, we can get a 1 cycle. If he doesn't spawn on the right, we can't, so we're going to hope for that. If he spawns on the left, that's actually the worst pattern. So let's see what we get. Left to center. That's pretty close to the right. I don't think I can 1 cycle it, though. Oh, hey, I did. Nice. So, the reason a 1 cycle there is important is because he can actually go back inside the balloon and turn himself invincible. He didn't manage to get to that time, as I managed to actually bombard him with as many hits as I needed to. So that actually worked out really well. Pretty cool finish. On to stage 2. One of my favorites of the first 7 stages. It has a boss with a non-random phase. And it's just a pretty straightforward stage as is. And great music, can't forget that. Love the horns. Lots of good horn use in this soundtrack. We'll say paratroopers can be a bit of a hassle in this stage, though. They swarm fairly quickly. That was unfortunate. Calibration's off sometimes. This is one of the few gates we don't shoot. Pretty much. Just like, no big. I'll get out of here. Aside from the fact that he just, you know, murdered a Koopa kid who fell out of a balloon. He'll be fine, right? Unfortunate. For those shells on the ground, you can actually alter up your strats there. You can jump them on some occasions. Leave the patterns, you get a little bit more random, so I tend to not try to jump them. Take this last mushroom. Mushrooms are health refills. If you have full health and collect a mushroom, you can collect one in stock and use it later on bosses, which is pretty cool. For this boss, we have Ludwig. Awesome looking back here. It's not random for this fight, which is really great. You only have to shoot the giant pink bubble on the back, and his movement here is completely fixed. There's nothing random about his movement. We got a 3 cycle, so that was good. That's the best I've ever been able to do. On to his second phase, which is quite a bit more random. Basically, what we're hoping for here is for him to not jump, and of course he jumps. He punches us, that's fine. Like, I don't care about that. Damage is whatever. For the 2 fists. This is the only actual aggravating part, is having to shoot his mouth where he shoots out of. Refill some meter here. We generally tend to keep fire on it, just in case it opens, which it usually does. Decent fight there. So the story of this game is you have 2 members of the royal family of a nation called Jewelry Land that are kidnapped by Bowser and his Koopalings. I forget the king's name, but the Koopa Kings are holding him hostage, whereas Bowser is holding the prince hostage. His name is Prince Pine. And we're trying to collect these jewels back, because I guess it's like their power source or something. Or it's just indicative of, like, we're Jewelry Land or something. I really don't know. On to our final stage of the first wave. It's going to be stage 5. This, I believe, is the first stage that introduces the concept of zips. Not zip jumps, mind you, though those do exist here as well, but there's going to be actual zips that take us around like corners and such. Sorry, Paragoomba parts leave me kind of quiet. I tend to want to try to take them out as quickly as I can. They just cause too many issues. Ugh, that was gross. Last one got in on me. So that's our second Fire Flower. It's the last one we're gonna get, and we always get it in the 7th stage, no matter what stage that is. Like, of course, we can go in any order we want, but no matter what our 7 stages, that's when we always get the second Fire Flower, and that extends our meter up to our life total. So it's a good thing to have. We want this. Just a second key item. I'm gonna jump those spinies because I wasn't doing very well on making sure I could touch them. Big old jump there. 1-ups really don't mean a whole lot in a speedrun. They don't add anything. We're not anticipating dying anyway. But they're there. I feel sorry for him, yeah. Mid-boss for this stage, here we have the return of the Sledge Brother. I think this was actually his first game since SMB 3. Okay, impale him with all these shots. Get the thing, there we go. Actually, I kind of forget what the berry does. I know you can use it during the boss, but... So here's our zips. It's gonna take us around these corners. We really don't have any control of our movement here. It's kind of just static, whatever happens to us. We've got one last jump, I believe. One last set of jumps. I think it's 2, actually. There we go. Okay. On to our final Koopa Kid. Here we have Morton with his Subwoofer Frog. This fight's actually really annoying, especially if he wants to jump a lot. I tend to try to get rid of one Subwoofer before he jumps the second time. That didn't work that time. All he wants to do is hippity hop. Very unfortunate here. Okay. So for the rest of this fight, we're going to wait for the hat to open and then unload on Morton. Hopefully he doesn't jump in the meantime. If we get a perfect 5 cycles, that's great. Yo, no jumps. He didn't jump at all. That's awesome. Good fight. Yeah, that was actually a great second phase. The 2 practice run attempts I did yesterday, second phase was just jumping around all over the place, whereas that time we just got perfect RNG and he just opened the hat. Let us take him to the cleaners. So we rescue the king. We're going to do a quick cutscene skip there. Then we're on to our second wave of stages, what I refer to as the Wily stages. Starting with stage 8. This stage is notorious for 2 things. It has probably the hardest mid-boss in the game, and certainly one of the most random actual bosses. The stage itself is kind of just menial. There's another gate that we actually don't shoot. Get a lot more Potoboos. Music's cool, though. I love the percussion here. Shoot the coin. So here's our mid-boss. This is the fire stake. This thing is awful to hit. Like, Really can't say much else about it. Trying to hit this thing is just obnoxious. Just bounces around like an idiot like this all the time. You just follow the trail and hope for the best. Probably not getting this one, because by the time you get down to like the brass tacks of it, it's just completely out of, you're just out of meter and you really can't do a whole lot. For our next half, we're going to see some more jumps here soon. Random mole appears there. Not sure why there's only one. Perhaps there's more on the secret difficulty. I don't know. I haven't made it this far on that because it's really hard. Here's our only jump of the level. We have this lava jump here. For those you can't... Actually, you got two of them. For those you really can't lose time, but you can... and here I thought you couldn't fall in. Whoops. Oh well. I thought it just did damage to you. Not a huge deal, just more embarrassing than anything, but we're almost to the boss. Take out a few more moles in our way. No, don't you dare hit me. On our boss, we have Magic Koopa. He's pretty awful. Lots of RNG here. The worst thing about him is actually his hitbox. His weak spot is his glasses, specifically between his eyes. And with him being so small in his first phase, it can be really hard to hit. He can also spawn in something like 5 or 6 different places, I think. So you constantly have to have your reticle ready to go. Second phase is a bit easier, though. He can do a bit more damage there. The goal is you just don't want to miss a hit. Once he fires a shot out of his wand, he immediately, like that, he immediately disappears. I managed to get in a hit at the same time he fired it, so we didn't lose anything there. On to the final phase. Same exact fight, but he's bigger, so we can hit him a lot easier here. Not really much else to say. We're just going to try and finish him off here. He has a cool explosion death, though. There we go. I'm using mouse and keyboard on SNES 9X emulator. It's the only SNES game I run on emulator. And truth told, keyboard is not really that big of a factor in this game. I only use it to turn on the turbo switch. Because it's actually a control there. On to stage 9, probably the hardest stage in the game. Not the most frustrating, mind you, but for technical ability and awareness, I think it's definitely the hardest in the game. It's standard Ghost House. Or Mario Kart, I guess. Not so much for anything else. Boos are pretty annoying. You can shoot them and not kill them. They only go into a stun lock. But then they come out and they can just hit you. So you have to be really mindful of where you actually shoot them. If their hitbox isn't active, you can just walk through them like so. Some of these Potoboos in the way. First part of this stage is, I really wish there was more to discuss, but it's kind of just getting enemies out of your way. So this is the one gate in the game that's incredibly important for the speedrun. If you miss shooting that gate, you lose something like 20 seconds. The rest are all like 5 seconds and less. That one you definitely want to hit. Finish off some of these Potoboos bouncing through here. I always forget there are plants in this stage. I don't have any clue as to why. But they're here, so fall into our second phase of the stage. This is where the stage actually gets a little weird. Not only does it have one of the more annoying mid-bosses, but it also has the hardest jump in the game you had to make. Take care of some enemies through here. Gonna turn and make a tight jump here. So missing that jump would just cause us damage. Same with this one. And that one's kind of tough to hit because you have the zip right before it. On to our mid-boss, this Lakitu. Drop some Spinies on us. I tend to not care too much about the Spinies. They don't do that much damage. I Didn't just want to shoot him as long as he's on screen, because he can despawn himself. There we go. It's a little scary fight. This is the hard jump here. You have to make that jump really, really early, because you're in zip mode, so you're already moving faster. So timing it even a little bit late not only causes you to fall off the cliff, but you also lose the star. So it's really bad to miss that. You don't want that to happen ever. Got our full health back, which is good. Hopefully we can make it through these boos without taking any hits. Didn't happen. That one decided to juke a bit. No. Jerk. Okay. Let's see how it is. Fair enough. One more jump. That'll take us into the hole. This is probably the hardest boss in the game. You can have good fights of it, but it's really random. The problem with it is that Big Boo, you can only hit 3 times in a single cycle, but sometimes he can just decide to disappear and you don't get to hit him at all, like he did in that first cycle there. I got to hit him twice and then he's just like, nope, teleporting out. I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna make my first use of the mushroom here to get my health back. Just gonna basically lay into him as much as I can to get as many hits as I can while he's gonna allow it. After 3 hits, I have no qualms to switch to the other side, so he gives us the time. Shards hitting me don't really matter all that much. It's annoying, of course, but it's better to make sure I can hit him. He also just has a lot of health. There we go. This is a cycle, unfortunately. Now the key here is going to be catching the one with the tongue active. You can get him in 2 cycles, but it's really hard. He only takes 5 hits from this point. Trade-off being he's just obnoxiously hard to hit because he spins in place. Got him there, though. Always hope for a 2-cycle fight there, but it's rough. I'm always glad when that fight's over. Just means the rest of the run is going to be fine. Move on to our last 3 stages. Now we actually come to the most annoying stage in the run. So this stage is gross, and this is where the cheap start to become a real issue. I pop up from the side like this, they can definitely hit you into the water. Always want to make sure we can avoid that. Not the easiest thing in the world. Flip on through, past these bloopers. Most of the other enemies in this stage really aren't that much of a hazard. Like, the plants showing up, the bloopers, like, they're not that big of a deal. It's the cheaps that really get to be a problem. Paratroopers can be a little silly because you have so little room to work with and move around. There's a lot of turns here. So getting hit by one is probably going to end up getting you to take a bath. Got awesome music, though. Up, and away. I can definitely agree about this being a Mario Kart inspired stage, but I feel that way about this whole game. Make sure I take out these cheaps. Okay, good. Easily the biggest threat in the game. On original hardware, yes, it has to be played with a Super Scope, but I'm playing on emulator with mouse and keyboard. Just my preferred way to play for this game. Alright, that was actually a very, very good stage. Didn't get knocked in the water at all. Had minimal enemy interaction. Now we have our boss, who's going to drain a ton of time, because that's just what he does. This fight's pretty obnoxious. This giant turtle mech. We've got 4 Troopas on the top that we have to hit 10 times apiece. Luckily for me, that first one never despawned. They can do this thing where they go underwater, just make themselves completely invincible, like so. You can shoot them on the way down or the way up, but sometimes that can be tricky. They each take 10 hits. Second one down. Almost unfortunate there. Oh, wow, I actually got it right before he went in the water. Nice. I didn't think you could catch him that low. That third one was being kind of a tool. He dipped underwater quite a few times. Finish this one off, and we'll talk about the last phase. We're definitely not done yet. Okay. Sucks we only do that one last hit. So this is the part that's really awful. The only weak spot here is inside the turtle's mouth. Until he decides to open wide, we can't hit him at all. He can just shoot green bullets at us and to his heart's content. When he opens up, then we have a chance to hit him. Worst boss in the game, in my opinion. He also has a super long explosion scene. That took not long at all. I mean, the mouse adds for a lot. Plus, you also get this reticle. I don't actually remember getting this reticle on a Super Scope. Alright, 2 stages left to go. This is actually one of my favorite stages, is stage 10. It's a really quick stage, and it has an interesting boss, in a sense. The boss is a total firefight, which means we're just going to be trading damage. But there was actually a strat I discovered on it myself that allows you to save time. It's pretty cool. Get to that in a moment. Most of this, though, is just zipping into corners. Zip around. I think in 2-player mode where you actually have control of Yoshi's movement, that goes by a little bit easier, but in the 1-player mode, it's not so much the case. Kill all this stuff. Couple more bombs. Bullet bills. I wish there was more to talk about through that stage, but it's really just an enemy stage. Not much mechanically. So here we have Charge and Chuck. The time saving strat I was referring to is when he jumps in the air, he quakes the ground. If he reaches the ground, that stuns you from being able to do anything. So my strat is when he comes down from a jump, I want to shoot him when he's on the way to the ground, and then he just collapses, and you can start shooting him right away. Doesn't even get to quake. It actually ended up being a pretty fast boss fight, so that was good. Managed to get him in, what was that, like 2.5 cycles or so? Not too bad. This will bump us along to our last stage. Oh no, what's behind this cloud? Shoot Bowser in the face, and we're on to stage 12. Pretty easy stage, really cool to look at. Mode 7 lava. To be playing this again during Lava Appreciation Week. Got all these dudes coming in. It's a fairly simple stage, even though we do see one new enemy. We're going to see Mecha Koopas eventually, and they behave much like Boos do. You shoot them, and you can't actually kill them, but you can stun them to where their hitbox gets turned off. We'll wind our way through here. This music's just so rad. Good head bobber. Oh, that was close. I wasn't sure if he was going to hit me or not. There you have the Mecha Koopas. We actually can kill them if we touch them while they're in hit stun. Just kicks them out of the way. Yeah, Dots are cool, has the world record in this game. His run is amazing, so if you guys like what you see, Dots is definitely a better runner in this game than I am. It's a run well worth watching. It's really entertaining. Dots is just, I mean, Dots is an entertaining runner as is. Very, very good about keeping the audience engaged. And that was just from watching a VOD in my case. His boss fights in particular are amazing. Well worth watching if you got 40 minutes to spare. And another quick corner zips here. Shoot whatever that is. Or miss it completely, that's cool too. I don't think it's anything we really needed, so it should be fine. We have too much else to interact with here. You know it's Mario Kart when you see parts of the stage you've already interacted with. So for the last little bit here, not a particularly big fan of this part pre-Bowser. It's basically a mini-boss rush. In fact, that's exactly what it is. We have to fight 5 of the mini-bosses we fought in the stage all over again. I think we had to fight all of them except whatever that giant pot was that was in stage 4, the one that released the octopuses. Octopi, I shouldn't say it that way. Hammer Brother goes up first, Boomerang Brother's up now. Pretty fast fight there, not bad. I love the boss music in this game. Lakitu, we're just gonna hope he doesn't despawn all that much. Yeah, despawned or 2 spinies is bad. He threw like 5 in our last fight. Yeah, definitely need some health here. There we go. Lakitu's just annoying. It's not a super hard fight, but he just can shell out so much damage to you, pun intended, in such a quick amount of time. We got Sister Sledge here. Our last coin. Onto our final mid-boss. Obviously, it has to be this guy, because what game is complete without 2 Fire Snake fights? Gross. I'm gonna have to let this recharge at some point. It's annoying when you're out of meter. Okay, there we go. Got some health back. Alright, got all our resources ready for this final fight with Bowser. I gotta say, this Bowser look is something. Straight up anime villain. When we fully damage an arm, we can't shoot him in the meantime. He has to recover that. I think the bandage is a nice touch, though. Take out those here. He's going to expose his stomach for our last cycle of the first phase. I think I've only been able to get this in 3 cycles before. I don't think 2 is an option unless you're a TAS. Oh, I didn't even get 3 cycles. That's bad. Okay. Now he loses all his armor. And this fight's not particularly difficult, but there is one annoying aspect of it. There's one pattern Bowser can give you where he just leaves the screen with his arm intact, and then you can't shoot it. Luckily that didn't happen there, but it happens sometimes, and it loses a lot of time when that does happen, because then you have to refocus on the next arm, and it's not great. I'm going to go ahead and refill our health here. It's because I needed to refill my meter, mostly. So we're going to shoot him in the mouth for the last of it, and time is going to be on the last hit on him. 38-32 time. That's actually a PB for me. My previous PB was 38-46, so that's pretty cool. Still 30 seconds off from Dots' time, but that's an awesome PB. And thus concludes our story. Oh, one more thing I should point out. Mario's a big jerk, and I'm about to show you why. Because for whatever reason, Mario definitely believes in killing the animals. Look at this guy. Like, why would you put this in a video game? Mario's such a jerk. Yoshi running around in terror because he just got shot at, and who can blame him? Move us on there to our finale with the prince. those curious what the prince looked like. Very Robin Hood, except he wears blue and a cape. Thank you so much for the GGs, everybody. Alright, everybody, I hope you all enjoyed that. It's kind of a long game to keep people engaged in, but I think this game's great. I've been playing it since I was 10. It's super fun. It's well worth a try, even if you just have emulator for it and don't have a super scope, but well worth looking into. And I'm glad it was actually cool to be able to set a PB and a marathon as well, which is always fun. So, you guys have a great rest of your marathon. Do be sure to stick around. My good friend Lucha Jim is coming up with his next couple runs of Baby's Kids and Castlevania Dracula X. So I will see you all in the next one. Thanks so much for watching, and enjoy the rest of the marathon. Take care, everybody.